The story begins in a magical world, a land shared by 9 races: dragonutes, elves, onists, dwarves, demons, dark elves, centaurs, beastfolk, and humans. From the human race, a young adventurer named Light is born. Though humble, Light carries a simple wish: to give his family a better life. With this dream in his heart, he says goodbye to his hometown and sets out to seek money and power. His journey soon leads him to a bustling city, where he is shoved and jostled by the busy crowd. Yet, undeterred, he keeps moving, his eyes searching for the Adventurers Guild. When he finally steps into the guild hall, Light approaches the receptionist and politely introduces himself. She asks if he wishes to register as a fresh adventurer. He nods, and she explains that he will begin from the lowest rank, F rank. Then she asks the crucial question: does he have a special ability? Light, a little nervous, admits that his gift is Unlimited Gacha, the power to roll random cards and summon them. To demonstrate, he calls upon his gift, and before the receptionist's eyes appears a broken fork. She stares at him, speechless. Embarrassed, Light tries to laugh it off, pretending that silverware isn't the only thing he can summon. But when he rolls again, the results are no better. Rotten snacks, spoiled food, more useless junk. His luck betrays him at the worst possible moment. The receptionist sighs and confirms bluntly that he deserves the pathetic F rank. With his adventurer card in hand, Light asks her for quests. She directs him to the guild's job board, but as soon as she mentions it, he hesitates. She notices his expression and realizes with pity he cannot read. Softening, she kindly reads the postings aloud for him. Grateful, Light eagerly accepts the boring tasks. By the end of the day, after working hard, he finally earns enough to rent a room. But just when things seem to be looking up, a gang of beastfolk approaches. They shove him down, laughing as their leader snatches away his hard-earned money. Light pleads, "Please, have mercy." But the cruel wolfman only sneers, driving a hard uppercut into his stomach. He mocks him for begging for spare change before walking off with his gang, their laughter echoing in the street. The crowd looks away. Nobody helps until a kind elf steps forward. She kneels and helps him up. Light is stunned, shocked that such a beautiful elf would dirty herself for his sake. Around them, passers-by laugh and sneer, mocking the sight. But she only helps him to his feet. Soon, more adventurers gather around. They introduce themselves as members of the Concord of Tribes, a legendary party where each member represents one of the 9 races. Geru explains this, while the elf introduces herself as Sasha. She names the others: Drago, Diablo, Ubero, Nano, Sion, and Centaur. 8 of the 9 races are already represented. Only a human is missing. Geru extends his hand, inviting Light to join them so that their fellowship can be complete. Stunned that someone would truly need him, Light accepts with joy. Before long, he's exploring the Abyss, the world's most dangerous dungeon, alongside his new companions. When a massive worm beast lunges at him, Geru swiftly cleaves it apart. Another worm sneaks up from behind, but Sasha looses an arrow, pinning it down before it reaches him. "Be more careful," she scolds, tending to his wounds as she warns him. "This dungeon could kill you in an instant." The others laugh and tease her for doting on him so much, joking that she sounds like his mother. Blushing furiously, Sasha insists, "I'm just protecting a fellow party member." Her excuse convinces no one. Drago intervenes, clapping Light on the shoulder. "Don't let it bother you. You make excellent tea for the team." His words lift his spirits, and together the party ventures deeper into the abyss. Eventually, they reach a dead end. Light assumes they're stopping for a break, so he begins preparing tea. But Drago halts him. "We don't need tea. You're out of the party." Light blinks, confused, thinking it's a cruel joke. But Drago repeats it sharply. They're kicking him out. One by one, the others confirm it. Geru tells him flatly that they don't need him. Sasha sneers in disgust at his foolishness. Even Sion and Nano mock him for being so pathetic. The demons smirk with relief, glad to finally be rid of him. Light's voice trembles. Why? Why are you doing this after showing me so much kindness? Geru laughs coldly. We were faking. We only needed you because of your gift. They reveal their deception. They hoped his unlimited gacha would make him a powerful maestro. But to them, his power turned out to be worthless. You're a talentless human, a failure, nothing but dead weight. Sasha sighs in relief, muttering that she can now marry her true master without worrying about Light. Crushed, Light can hardly breathe. Drago orders Geru to finish him. At last, he realizes the danger. They don't just want to abandon him, they want to silence him forever, ensuring he can never come back for revenge. Geru slashes his cheek, and Light stares in horror at the blood dripping down his face. He runs, but Sasha looses an arrow, striking his leg. He collapses in pain. Geru beats him mercilessly until Sasha warns him to be careful. They must make it look like an accident. Geru raises his claws for the final strike. Crawling desperately, Light presses his hand on the ground and activates a hidden teleportation trap. End him before it triggers, Drago shouts. But before they can reach him, Light vanishes in a flash of magic. When he wakes, he finds himself elsewhere in the abyss. His body aches, wounds throbbing, blood soaking his clothes. The cold cave air bites into his skin, and he weeps, remembering the cruelty of his companion's betrayal. But then anger ignites within him. He vows revenge, swearing to cut them all down. A low growl interrupts his thoughts. Turning, Light sees a level 1 Orthus beast stalking him. His heart sinks. A monster this strong should not be here. He realizes the trap has thrown him to the deepest floor of the abyss. As the Orthus lunges, he panics, spamming his unlimited gacha. Again and again, desperately praying for a miracle. Suddenly, a vast magic circle flares beneath him. The gacha roars with energy, and from its light emerges a figure. An ancient fairy descends, her presence overwhelming. She slices the monster apart like paper, its remains scattering across the cavern floor. With a graceful flick, she clears away the mess and kneels before Light. Forgive me for healing you without permission, she says softly, placing glowing hands on his wounds. I could not bear to see you injured. Light, stunned, introduces himself. She repeats his name with delight, swearing her eternal loyalty. At his request, she reveals her name, May, the ever-seeking maid. She is a level 9999 super ultra rare card, the strongest summon from Unlimited Gacha. Light can hardly believe it. His gift, which had only ever produced garbage, has summoned this impossibly powerful being. But May only smiles, insisting he deserves her power. She begs to stay by his side. She then examines his gift with her appraisal skill. Her eyes glow, and she explains his gacha isn't weak at all. It only seemed useless because the surface lacked mana. Down here in the abyss, rich with overflowing magical energy, his gacha is supercharged, making rare pulls possible. She patiently explains the gacha's card ranks, from normal and error up to extra rank and super ultra rare. Light listens in awe, realizing the truth of his ability for the first time. But when he tells her of his betrayal, of the lies, the cruelty, the taunts, his composure breaks. Tears fall as he recalls their words, their laughter, their blows. May watches, silent but aching for him, and when he collapses to his knees, she gently holds him.
I cannot imagine the depth of your suffering, she whispers. but I will use all my power to bring you justice." Her voice trembles with fury as she swears she will line every one of his betrayers before him, helpless. Light shakes his head. Though her words stir him, he refuses. "I don't want revenge through borrowed strength. I want to punish them myself, with my own 2 hands." She gazes at him, seeing kindness even in his pain. But then she smiles. "If that is your wish, I will follow you. I believe in you completely." Light smiles back, his heart steadied by her faith. Together they begin. With May at his side, he summons again. Magic circles blaze, filling the cavern as more powerful tools and treasures emerge. Fueled by the abyss's endless mana, Light takes his first step toward building the empire that will carry him to vengeance.
3 years have passed since Light was betrayed and left for dead. During that time, he built an entire underground empire, a kingdom ruled by loyalty, power, and beauty. Within the abyss, he now reigns as the master of countless servants, all of them devoted to him with absolute admiration. Everywhere he walks, people bow their heads with deep respect. The streets are lined with citizens who adore him, and his maids, all of them beautiful and powerful, serve him with unwavering devotion. But his empire isn't just about admiration. It's filled with followers of unimaginable strength. Many of his servants are level 9,999, each with a specific role. A young cat girl named Aoki tirelessly explores the land surrounding the abyss, creating detailed maps of the region. Ellie, a talented and confident mage, works day and night to develop new spells in preparation for Light's grand plan. And then there's Nazuna, a strong and cheerful warrior skilled in close combat, though her innocence and simplicity often get the better of her. Despite her strength, Nazuna's easygoing nature makes her a frequent target of mischief from the other maids. One day they approach her sweetly, asking her to do them a favor, to patrol and inspect a restricted secret area. Trusting them completely, Nazuna agrees without hesitation. She walks down the silent halls of the castle until she reaches Light's private room. There she finds Mai, the head maid, calm and capable, who's busily cleaning. Surprised to see her, Mai asks why she's there. Nazuna innocently explains she was on patrol and thought she should check the room too, but then asks Mai what she's doing inside the master's chambers. Caught off guard, she blushes and quickly answers that she's only cleaning. Nazuna glances around and notices the unmade bed, the scattered pillows, and a faint trace of warmth in the room. To her, it looks suspicious, as if she had been rolling on the bed or hugging the master's pillow. Mai immediately denies it. With a straight face, she insists that this is simply her unique bed-making technique, one that only she, the head maid, is qualified to perform. It's the greatest cleaning method in existence, a secret of the profession. Nazuna's eyes sparkle in admiration. She's amazed and tells Mai that now she understands why she was the very first one the master summoned. Mai exhales in quiet relief, thinking how easy it is to fool her. Nazuna then remembers she brought a message from the other maids. She proudly takes out a note and reads it aloud. The letter politely complains that Mai monopolizes the master's belongings and asks her to let the others help clean his room too. It ends with a sarcastic, "We don't wish you harm, but we hope you get diarrhea." Mai smile freezes. Nazuna, confused, wonders why they'd curse her at the end of such a polite message. Mai sighs and says it's just a small dispute between her and the others. To thank Nazuna for delivering the message, she hands her a few coins. Nazuna beams with joy, waves cheerfully, and runs off to buy snacks. She happily spends her earnings on candies and sweets, her absolute favorite, and later bumps into Aoki, who's just returned from her mapping mission. Nazuna teases her, asking why she's not outside exploring. Aoki, speaking in her usual cat-like way, simply replies, "Meh." Nazuna laughs and tries to talk to her by meowing back nonsense, but it only irritates Aoki.
The catgirl eventually switches to normal speech, saying she already finished her task and reported to Mai. Nazuna is shocked. She could have spoken normally all along. Aoki rolls her eyes and walks away, while Nazuna jokes that she's heading back on patrol. Later, Nazuna enters the Grand Throne Hall to inspect it as part of her self-appointed patrol. The huge chamber echoes her voice as she shouts playfully. But when she sits on the throne, she grows quiet. She misses Light deeply. She hasn't seen him all day, and her longing turns into melancholy. Trying to shake it off, she plays around the throne like a child, until she accidentally breaks a small golden piece from it. Horrified, she freezes for a moment, then hastily tries to stick it back before sprinting out of the room in a panic. Meanwhile, Light is training with a tall, muscular warrior named Jack. The two clash fiercely, the sound of metal echoing through the chamber. Jack compliments Light, impressed by how much he's improved. Even among the Abyss Dwellers, few can match his strength now. After their sparring, they bathe together. Jack tells Light that he's become far more formidable, but warns him not to underestimate the surface world. There may still be beings out there capable of challenging him. Light nods, his gaze steady. He knows the risks, but his determination for revenge hasn't faded. Back at the fortress, Mai gathers the 4 maids who wrote the letter and delivers their punishment. She reads aloud the message they made Nazuna recite, word for word. Terrified, the maids bow their heads and beg for forgiveness. Mai scolds them sharply, reminding them that they not only insulted her, but also dragged poor Nazuna into their childish schemes. Their excuse that they only wanted to help lighten her workload earns no sympathy. As punishment, Mai orders them to clean the entire hallway leading to the throne room, by hand, no magic. The maids protest in panic, saying it's too large, but Mai doesn't waver. She says she'll be going to the surface with Master Light and expects the work to be done by the time she returns. Elsewhere, Nazuna is wandering through the armory when she runs into Ellie. The two immediately start bickering. Ellie mocks her, calling her slow and childish, while Nazuna insists she's smart, though she admits she only knows the 1 times 1 part of the multiplication table. Ellie laughs and their playful argument escalates. Nazuna threatens to report Ellie to the master, but Ellie reminds her that she once had tea with Light and plans to have dinner with him next, maybe even stay up late together. The thought makes Nazuna boil with jealousy, though she doesn't fully understand why. Despite the teasing, Nazuna's gentle nature shines through. She admits that Ellie is an amazing mage, but not great in close combat, and offers to protect her if danger ever arises. Ellie's expression softens. She thanks her sincerely before heading off, leaving Nazuna smiling. Meanwhile, the punished maids complain endlessly. They rant about how unfair it is that Mai gets all the attention and monopolizes the master's room. Their envy twists into absurd fantasies. They dream about entering his room, sniffing his pillow, or even licking his fork. But their gossip goes too far. Mai appears behind them. Her voice is calm but terrifying. She repeats the rumors she just heard, word for word, and the maids turn pale. They beg for forgiveness again, one even promising to become her pet if she'll spare them. Mai explains that during the 3 months before Aoki appeared, Master Light spent every waking moment studying every combat technique in existence. There was no time for the kind of fantasies they imagined. She had actually returned to lessen their punishment, but after hearing all this, she changes her mind. Now they'll clean the entire throne room as well, by hand. The maids collapse in despair but can't argue. Hours later, they're still polishing the enormous golden floor, exhausted and miserable. One accidentally breaks the same piece of a throne that Nazuna damaged earlier, making things even worse. Meanwhile, Nazuna lies in bed, tired from her patrol. She gazes up at the ceiling and sighs softly. She hasn't seen her master all day, and she misses him more than she can admit. Closing her eyes, she whispers, "Good night, my lord," and drifts off to sleep. The next morning, Light appears before his companions. Nazuna, Ellie, and Aoki immediately light up at the sight of him, but their happiness quickly turns into playful rivalry as they compete for his attention. Light chuckles as they squabble, especially when Aoki curls up like a cat and he instinctively pats her head. The others pout in jealousy. Their playful moment is interrupted when a massive two-headed beast bursts into his path. The monster growls, but before it can move, the three girls unleash an overwhelming killing intent. Their power floods the air, so intense that the beast instantly collapses and begins whimpering like a frightened dog. Light calmly steps forward and tells them it's fine, there's no need to fight. The creature trembles as he pets it gently. Then he turns to his followers with a composed smile. Then, Light said he had spoken with Mai, and she had told him that the preparations were complete. They had finally located the first target. After 3 long years, it was time to return to the surface. And all 3 girls are excited. His revenge is about to begin.
Their leader, a muscular wolf man with a blue mane and scars across his face named Goru, steps forward. He's the same man who once slashed and humiliated Light. With a threatening grin, he looks over the crowd. As Goru walks through the streets with his followers, the beast folk cheer for him. Some of the wolf women even call out, asking if he wants to have children with them. On his walk, he notices a young boy digging through the trash. Goru throws the boy aside and spits on him like he's nothing more than a worm. They enter a bar. Goru downs several drinks while letting his followers taste a bit of the food he can easily afford with his overflowing pockets. Everyone looks up to him, wishing they could be as cool as their boss. But it's not that easy. As Goru says, only the beast folk have the nose for good jobs. One of the wolves asks if their latest job for the Concord of Tribes is one of those good jobs. Another immediately shuts him up, reminding him that Goru isn't allowed to talk about it. Goru agrees calmly, saying the Federation has forbidden him from sharing details. Then he orders his underlings to keep drinking and eating, which they eagerly do. Inwardly, Goru thinks it had been the easiest job ever, killing that weak human boy they mistook for the maestro. The only thing that bothers him is that Light's body was never found after being teleported away. Even so, he's sure Light died in that dungeon. Still, the thought of not knowing who the real maestro is lingers in his mind, but he decides it's too dangerous to dig deeper. Soon after, a beautiful maid walks into the bar, silencing everyone around her. All eyes turn toward her. Later, we see Goru's group leading this same maid into the deep pit where they once left Light to die. In a flashback, the girl introduces herself to Goru, asking if he is the same Goru who once belonged to the Concord of Tribes. Goru keeps his cool and asks what she wants. The woman introduces herself as Mai, Light's most loyal maid. She explains that she has been searching for Light, a young noble, ever since his mysterious disappearance. Goru finds it odd that no one had discovered this about him before, but he sees it as a chance to have some fun and maybe get some information. Mai continues, saying she heard that Light joined a guild and perished in a dungeon. She wants to visit the place where he was last seen and asks if Goru's group could escort her there. At first, Goru hesitates, but when Mai offers 3 heavy gold bars, his greed takes over. He quickly accepts, pretending it's not about the money. He says Light was like a brother to him and that he's happy to help. Boasting that he's the future leader of the wolf tribe, he promises to gather his strongest followers to protect her. Mai thanks him politely, hiding her disgust. Back in the present, Goru's group guides Mai through the dark abyss. Goru imagines what he'll do to her once they reach Light's supposed grave. Finally, they arrive at the same place where Light had once been left to die. Goru explains that monsters attacked them here, that Light was wounded and fell into a magic trap and was never seen again. Mai kneels on the ground, silently mourning. Goru continues his fake speech, pretending to feel sorry, while his followers begin blocking all the exits. He's excited for what's about to happen. But Mai suddenly drops her act. She says she wished she could have worked for Goru earlier, because then she could have protected Light from monsters like you. Shocked, Goru stumbles back. He can't believe she knows about the secret attack. He yells, demanding to know if she's a spy. Mai rises, declaring that she serves light, and light alone. She warns that soon their guts will be all over the floor. Goru and his followers shiver without understanding why. The air grows heavy with power. Before Mai even acts, Goru has already wet himself, realizing he's doomed. Just then, Light appears from the other side of the cave. He tells Mai to let him handle these filthy beasts. The group is stunned. How could a mere human survive this deep? Goru freezes. When Light removes his hood, Goru's fears are confirmed. The boy he thought was dead stands before him, alive. Light smiles and says he's here to pay everything back with 3 years of interest. The beast folk demand an explanation, but Goru laughs. He mocks Light, calling him a pathetic level 15 human daring to challenge a level 150 warrior. Light doesn't even flinch. He points out how Goru has not changed, still arrogant, still blind to reality. Goru keeps ranting about how humans are weak and have no chance against beastfolk. He commands his men to attack, but before they can even move, 2 of their heads fly through the air. Mai, now in her battle attire, stands before Light, warning that anyone who touches him will lose their head. Light calmly thanks her and asks her to seal the exit, which she does, blushing slightly. The other beasts tremble. They didn't even see Mai move. Still, Goru tries to rally them, but his confidence is fading. Light mocks him for never learning, for still believing humans are inferior. Goru growls back that humans are worthless trash with low mana. He'll show him true power. His level is 158. Light explains that levels vary by race, which is why humans are often discriminated against. Goru ignores him, convinced of his superiority. When asked about his 2 fallen comrades, he stammers, unable to explain it. He assumes Light must have cheated with magic. They lock eyes. Then Goru charges, but Light easily knocks him down with a single blow. Goru gasps for air as Light towers over him, asking if that's really all he's got. Humiliated, Goru unleashes his trump card, a magical beast named Fenrir, level 500. His followers cheer, but Light only sighs in disappointment. Goru mistakes it for fear and attacks with his most powerful skill, Beast Howl. A massive beam of purple energy shoots toward Light. When the smoke clears, Light stands there, untouched. The only change is a bit of dust on his coat. Goru's eyes widen in disbelief. No human should be able to survive that. Now it's Light's turn. He summons his own creature, a level 9000 ultra-rare card, Primal God Fenrir. A gigantic blue wolf appears behind him, radiating divine power. Goru's beast freezes instantly and shatters into countless pieces. Goru collapses, broken and terrified. Light reveals his true level, 9999. Goru can't believe it. He thought humans could never go beyond level 100. He begins to think Light isn't human at all. Light explains that he wears the bracelet of youth, a reminder of the pain and suffering he once endured. Goru realizes it's truly him. Light has become a monster beyond imagination. He drops to his knees, begging for forgiveness. He blames the Federation, blames his followers, pleads for his life. But Light only wants one thing: answers. He demands to know what the Maestro is, why the government wants him dead, and what their plan truly was. Goru pretends ignorance. Mai quickly sees through his lies, and Light's expression hardens. In an instant, Mai slaughters his followers, reducing them to bloody chunks. She turns to the last survivor and asks if they truly believe they could win a war on the surface. Terrified, he admits they might stand a chance, but only barely. That's all Light needs to hear. He teleports away, taking Goru with him. When Goru opens his eyes, he finds himself in Light's throne room, surrounded by an army of monsters, knights, and maids, all bowing before their master. Light ascends his throne, his power overwhelming. Every soldier in his army has a 4-digit level, some reaching 9999. He asks Goru again, "Now, do you still think I can't conquer the surface?" Goru can't answer. He realizes his group, the Concord of Tribes, created the very monster that now stands before him. Light could wipe out the entire world in a heartbeat. When Goru asks if Light plans to become a god, Light smirks and says it doesn't sound bad. With his infinite gacha, he can bring either infinite blessings or infinite destruction. The world itself will decide which it deserves by how it answers his questions. The next day, the first thing Light does after going to the surface is visit his hometown. Light eagerly runs to greet his family, but everyone is horrified to see the entire village razed to the ground by an evil party. After this traumatic setback, Light makes a spiritual grave for his departed family. As he pays his respects to everyone, Light is grateful that he didn't find his siblings' bodies so they might still be alive. Behind him, a knight called Gold tells him to hurry up since he doesn't have all day to cry for him. Ninemu gets offended by Gold's insensitive comments on their master. While the two of them bicker, Light wonders if they like each other or are genuinely just arch-nemesis. Meanwhile, Gold points out that being too polite can look fake, and nobody wants to sleep out in the open grass fields. However, Ninemu is totally ready to spend time with Light wherever he goes. Her determination hurts Gold's pride, who also declares that he'd follow his master to the deepest pits of the underworld since he has sworn complete loyalty to him. Still, he doesn't feel like sleeping in the open, and Light breaks their conversation, reminding them that they need to find out who destroyed his village. He thinks that although their military power is enough to defeat all of the 9 races combined, they shouldn't act until they've learned more about the hidden strengths of the other nations. In Light's mind, the destruction of his village is also related to the hidden powers of the world, who are interested in his master's status. Angered by the loss of his parents, Light releases a bloodthirsty aura, but Gold reminds him to keep it in check. He agrees and puts on a fool's mask accessory to hide his identity, promising his parents that he'll avenge them. Once they're done with preparations, the trio starts flying towards the city of Dagas. On their way, Ninemu accidentally calls Light by his real name, so Gold reminds her that she should call him Dark to hide his real identity from the 9 races. Light thinks that he should raise his adventurer rank as Dark in order to get more secret intel from the guild. His 2 servants agree with his plan, and they soon spot the city of Dagas. In order to avoid making a scene, they land on the ground and walk the rest of the way on foot. However, they encounter a group of bandits mugging a poor merchant and his son. The bandits immediately notice the shining Gold Knight staring at their faces and instantly call him out. Ninemu gets angry at Gold for causing trouble, but he laughs and easily ties up the bandits. Overjoyed to be saved, the merchant thanks Light and his party by allowing them to ride his carriage to Dagas. While they ride, the merchant's son praises Gold and Ninemu for defeating the dwarves so easily, but she tells him that their master is even cooler than they are. Meanwhile, the merchant feels curious if Light's party is an experienced group that will explore the dog's dungeon, since it's the city's specialty. Light tells him that they're not registered yet. The man is shocked to hear this and offers them some information on the world's countries. It turns out that Dagas is a town on the Dwarven Kingdom's southern border, which is next to the Human Kingdom to the east and the Elven Kingdom to the south. Although all 3 kingdoms have had beef in the past, the dog's dungeon has some great loot which has attracted adventurers from all over the region. As the merchant finishes his explanation, they reach the dog's gate and Light's party gets off to walk the rest of the distance on foot. Before leaving, the merchant introduces himself as Colonel and invites their party to stay the night in his inn if they need a place. Meanwhile, they start heading to the Adventurers Guild, noticing all the dwarf and blacksmith shops on the way. Once they enter the guild, Light's party feels surprised by all the people there, but everyone else starts avoiding them like the plague. Light realizes that humans like him are treated poorly in this city as well, but he decides to register anyway. The guild receptionist starts him off at an F rank, which completely pisses off Ninemu. She starts yelling at the poor receptionist to give her master an S rank, but the receptionist reminds her that everyone has to start at the lowest rank. Thankfully, Light steps in and accepts his ranking before Ninemu can embarrass herself any further. Once they're finished with the registration, she starts crying because she made her master look bad in public. Gold rubs even more salt in her wounds, so Light stops him from bullying her. Afterwards, they head to Colonel's Inn to get some rooms. His son happily leads the group to his father, who asks if he can do them any favors.
Light asks Colonel if he can rent out the entire top floor of his inn for complete privacy, even from the staff, as payment. He offers Colonel a huge bag of gold, but he refuses to take money from somebody who saved his life. However, Light insists, so Colonel accepts his generous payment and agrees to arrange the top floor for him. Once Light is in the top room, he casts a bunch of magic spells to isolate his space from the outside world for complete privacy. As he stretches freely in his chair, Ninamu asks if it's truly safe for Light to explore the surface while exposing himself. She thinks that he should just stay in the safe fortress of the abyss and let them handle the work on the surface. But Light stops her. He asks Ninamu if she's going to stop him from personally taking revenge and gets up in rage. Feeling his anger, she realizes that she has committed a grave mistake and instantly drops to her knees to apologize. While Light coldly glares at Ninamu, Gold breaks the tension in the room with his charming laugh. It breaks Light's anger as well, and he gets down to comfort Ninamu. However, she still thinks that she has gone too far as his servant, so she decides to retake her pledge of loyalty as an apology. Ninamu gets down to kiss his master's feet, and Light silently allows it, feeling embarrassed by the unnecessary ritual. Watching her get into it, Gold wonders if Ninamu is secretly enjoying licking his feet, which ruins the atmosphere even more. The next day, the group starts heading out to the dog's dungeon as everyone around him notices the strange mask. Light realizes that his disguise isn't perfect. Unfortunately, they're too late to enter first, so they have to wait in line like a bunch of peasants. Gold notices that there aren't many elves in line, so Light points out that the Elven Kingdom has been at war with the dwarves over this dungeon, so tensions are high. Ninamu praises her Glight's brilliant detective skills, but he asks her if it's appropriate to press her chest against his back, as she says that it's absolutely necessary to protect his rear. A shady bunch of adventurers cuts in line in front of them. Watching the three hooded figures, Light deduces that two of them are a couple of chumps, but their big leader is a serious threat. Even some of the other adventurers consider calling them out for cutting in line. Light gets in front and asks them to get back in line politely. The elf leader gets offended and asks Light if he knows who he's talking to. Naturally, Light points out that he doesn't know them since they're literally hiding their faces under their hoods. He also notes that if he's someone of high status, he shouldn't be doing shady activities that would ruin his family name. Backing their master, Gold and Ninamu also tell the adventurer to get out of the way.
But the elf thinks that they're just a bunch of insects before he can unsheath his greatsword. His partner stops him, reminding him not to make a scene. When the hooded elf finally gives up and leaves, the rest of the adventurers thank Light's party for removing him. The party in front of Light apologizes for being unable to stand up to them, but Light says he just got rid of the trouble for everyone. They feel a bit better from his comfort, before one of them curiously asks if Gold's armor is truly made out of gold. The party leader silences his blabbermouth member, but it's already too late, as Nemumu explains that his armor isn't actually made of gold, since gold is too soft to make strong armor, but Gold doesn't mind using just the color. Then, the kids ask Light if it's his first time entering the dungeon, and he confirms it. The kid isn't surprised, since everyone else brings lots of camping supplies for the long trips into the dungeon. Since Light's party is the only one looking underprepared, he figured out that they're new here. Once it's their party's turn, the kids say goodbyes and enters the dungeon, while Light's party realizes that they should take out some of their resources from their magic item box, just to avoid suspicion later. Soon, it's Light's turn, and they head inside the massive dungeon. Nemumu is impressed by the dungeon's massive size, wondering how they can all turn out so different while following the same concept. Light notes that they need to access the dungeon's core to find out its secrets. But even Ellie, the researcher, can't pull it off. Gold thinks that there's no way they can do anything with Nemumu tagging along. So Light reminds him that he's also useless for the task. As they head deeper into the dungeon, the concentration of mana grows stronger, and the dark, cold prison area shifts into a vibrant, thriving world full of life. Gold appreciates the exotic wildlife, while Nemumu notices that there aren't any people snooping around their location. To begin their exploration, Light quickly casts some conceal and buff spells on his party. With the help of his buffs, they begin flying around the dense forest. Meanwhile, in the ground, the arrogant elf from before faces off against some powerful orcs surrounding him. Thinking about the humiliation from Light's party, the elf from before, called Kaito, rips apart the beasts one by one. He screams that he deserves better treatment. He's the youngest white knight in the Elf Kingdom and the descendant of a legendary hero. His servant, called Yanok, stops him from his pointless rampage, reminding him that their target is the third, not the first floor.
However, Kaito points his sword at his own butler, thinking there's no way he can forget the humiliation from before. Kaito says that the only reason he isn't getting more respect is that his level is capped at 1500. But Yanok points out that he has already surpassed the normal level cap for L's. He refuses to accept this, saying that a master descendant like him is supposed to have limitless potential. Seeing his young master so frustrated, Yanok acts like he feels so much sympathy for him, saying that he also got exiled from his country because of his experiments on breaking their limits. As Kaito demands that he make him level up, Yanok grins creepily as he accepts his request. Kaito turns around thinking he'll get rid of this crafty dark elf once he has used him to level up. Meanwhile, Light's party finishes butchering a group of trolls on the 3rd floor. They decide to take the magic gems out of the monsters as proof of exploring the 3rd floor before heading back. Noticing that her master got dirty from the fight, Nemumu offers to help him clean up. Once they fly back to the 1st floor, Light thinks they should start walking since Gold's bright armor attracts too much attention. However, they notice the weak party from earlier fighting some goblins. Gold notes that the party is strong enough to defeat the weak prey, but Light realizes that they missed a hidden enemy. As the young party turns around, they find Light pinning a bush snake with his staff. He reminds them to be careful since the snake could have paralyzed one of them and left them defenseless against the stronger monsters. Feeling grateful for Light's assistance, the kids thank him, but he suddenly gets serious after noticing another enemy. From a distance, a pack of dangerous bush wolves jumps out of the forest, shocking the kids. As they start panicking, Light tells them that the wolves mean no harm. In front of their eyes, the wolves simply avoid them and run away. Horrified, the kids finally realizes that the real enemy, as mentioned, wasn't the wolves.
Horrified, the kids finally realizes that the real enemy, like mentioned, wasn't the wolves, but a 4-sided mantis behemoth. Shocked, the kids wonder how the mantis appeared since its species went extinct over 10 years ago. As the kids prepare to run away from the monster, Light asks them if he can just hunt it for himself. Nemumu notes that the mantis is level 500, and the kids ask their group to leave, thinking it's too powerful for them. Soon, the mantis charges at them, and Gold takes the lead to block its attack. After exchanging blows with the mantis, Gold realizes it's not an enemy to be underestimated. Then, Light uses a fire arrow spell against it, but it reflects the arrow with its tough side. Watching the battle, the leader of the kids asks his mage Mia to help, but she starts glazing Light because he casts a spell without any incantation. He tells her to focus on helping them instead, but Gold reassures them that he'll be fine. Getting ready to fight, he tells the kids to pay attention as he combines attack and defense to defeat the mantis. As if hearing Gold's word, the mantis attacks him again to begin the fight. Gold easily blocks its strike with his shield, shattering its scythe from the rebound. Taking advantage of its shock, he rushes to slash off one of the mantis's legs. Next, Light decides it's his turn to show off, and he unleashes a barrage of fire arrows that shoot towards the mantis. As it tries to deflect the attacks, the arrows curve and avoid its sides, spearing into the monster's back. Mia watches in awe as Light controls over 30 homing arrows, gathering them to destroy the mantis. Feeling overwhelmed, the monster runs off to protect itself. However, Light stops the poor bug with a firewall, so it jumps above the flames to fly off. Finally, Nemumu jumps after the mantis, easily getting to a higher height. Clutching her daggers, she slashes it apart in a single strike, shattering it into pieces. While Nemumu feels smug about her achievement, Gold mocks her for acting like a kid. As she gets angry, he reminds her that she chopped all of the precious monster materials apart. The realization sends her into a panic, while the kids watch in shock, wondering how powerful Light's team is to easily defeat such a ferocious beast. After Nemumu apologizes to Light for her failure, the kids search the mantis's remains and find a perfectly intact monster gem. Gold praises their luck, glad that Nemumu's reckless strike didn't shatter the precious material. Seeing the core, Light thinks it'll be enough proof to submit to the guild and increase their rank. Meanwhile, the kids asks Light if they're an A-rank party trying to increase their rank. However, Light tells them that they're actually F rank, which sends the entire party into an existential crisis. Then, Mia creates a giant water bubble with her magic to help Light's team clean up. Gold tells her his shiny armor is as brilliant as ever, so Light steps up to wash his dirty hands. He asks the rest of the kids to wash up with him. Grateful for their little gift, the kids tell it's no big deal since he literally just saved their lives. Then they offer to let Light stay with them during the night since it's getting dark.
Light doesn't wish to burden the kids, but their leader reveals that his sister Mia is itching to learn about his insane magic techniques. Seeing her eager look, Light agrees to stay and joins them around a campfire to have dinner. Light tells Mia that his parents are genius mages, saying that she also has a lot of talent for magic. She smiles, saying her abilities aren't nearly as impressive as voiceless spells. Her brother wonders if chantless casting is really that impressive, so she starts geeking out about the 3 different classes of magic. She explains that combat class spells like the fire arrows are used for single targets, while tactical skills like the firewall are used for crowd control. She also reveals that there are strategic class spells that can have global impacts. However, global spells are at the level of natural disasters, so it takes several high-level mages chanting them at once to successfully cast them. She explains that races like Dragonauts, Elves, and Daemonin can easily cast spells because of their natural talents, but humans aren't so blessed, so that's why she thinks that Light is a world-class prodigy, since he can cast spells without reciting the incantation, despite being a mere human. Gold nods, appreciating her knowledge, while Light awkwardly laughs off her praise. Finally, after Mia settles down, her brother says that no matter his powers, Light seems like a kind man. To cheer up his sister, he tells her she'll surely succeed after getting admitted to the Duchess Magic School. While Mia is embarrassed, Light gets curious about the Duchy since it's the joint nation created by all 9 races. Gold also thinks that Mia must be quite talented if she can get admitted to the best magic school in the world. Her brother explains that although she got admission, she could never study at the school because her parents, who were paying for her tuition, died in an epidemic. Thus, the 2 of them were left to fend for themselves and created an adventuring party with Gimra and Wordy to earn money. However, he feels hopeful that with enough money, he can eventually send Mia to study at the Duchess Academy and fulfill her dreams. Feeling like a burden, Mia tells her party to take it easy instead of focusing so much on her. Watching the brother and sister take care of each other, Light remembers his own younger sister. He tells the kids to keep going since he believes that they'll make it big with their talents. Light also praises Mia's talents, but she thinks that he's just being nice to her. However, he assures her he's serious and his words give her a bit of confidence. Soon after, the party leader asks Light why he chose to become an adventurer, and Light begins to recount what happened to his family. Namumu tells them that the fire that killed Light's family left him with burn marks, so they're traveling with him to get his treatment. Gold explains that he and Namumu received help from Light's family, which is why they're helping him to pay off their debt. As Light's tragic backstory finishes, the group's cheerful atmosphere suddenly burns out. To change the subject, Gimra curiously asks if Namumu and Gold are married. Namumu instantly rejects this idea, saying there's no way she'd ever like a narcissist like Gold. Gold agrees, saying that he also doesn't like her since she has both the body and attitude of a little brat. Thinking he's got a chance, Gimra proposes to Namumu, but she tells her her heart belongs to Light. Gold chimes in, saying that it would be the biggest waste in the world if she dirtied their master, and they continue bickering throughout the night.
Somewhere else, Kaito cuts down a monster and Yanak praises him. However, Kaito gets mad at him, saying his legendary sword Grandius is made for slaying heroes, not weed-whacking. To calm him down, the Dark Elf reminds him that he needs the samples from these monsters for his research on breaking the level limit. With the monster samples complete, Yanak thinks it's time they start collecting samples from the human race next. A few weeks later, Light returns to the Adventurers Guild with a bunch of resources he got from the dungeon. The receptionist fawns over Light for the precious materials, and Namumu tells her that her master definitely deserves an S+ rank for his achievements. Light ignores his overzealous servant and asks the receptionist to prepare the payment for the materials. So she tells him to have some tea while he waits. As they return from the guild, Light's servants notice how much the guild's attitude has changed. While they walk through the city, everyone in the street whispers about them, knowing that they defeated the fearsome Mantiitis. As Light feels pleased with the fame he has gained, a group of adventurers gathered near the dungeon asks if he's from the Black McFally. This name confuses Light, so the adventurers explain that the townsfolk have given this name to his party. Namumu instantly gets in front of them, thinking they have ulterior motives. However, the adventurers assure them they mean no harm and introduce themselves as Suvelin and Gilbert. Suvelin wants to know how Light got so deep in the dungeon and defeated the Mantiitis, but Gilbert doubts that the news is actually true. This enrages Namumu, who points her dagger at his throat and asks if he's calling her master a liar.
To calm her down, Suvelin explains that they're just trying to cheer for them. This confuses Light, so he explains that the human race has gained hope after seeing a strong party from their side. As he explains this, Suvelin's party calls him to join them, so he leaves to wait in line with them. Nearby, the adventurers from the other races get angry, thinking that humans are delusional for having hope. As Namumu notices their low opinions of them, Gold says that they'll just silence them with more results. Once it's Light's party's turn, they enter the dungeon, and he thinks they should head straight to the 5th floor. However, they spot Maya's party while flying, so they head down to check on them. Happy to see them, Maya's brother pushes her to the front, saying that she has something to show Light. Hesitating, she gives Light a strange cream, explaining that she made it for his burn wounds. She thinks that even though it won't heal the burn scars, it can help him with the pain. Light thinks about it, so Maya thinks she doesn't want her gift. However, he accepts it with a smile and decides to return the favor. Light summons a card from his gacha, which turns into a pretty bracelet. He offers it to her, but she hesitates to accept it. With some encouragement, she finally puts the bracelet on her hands, pleased with how pretty it looks, saying that she'll treasure his gift forever. Maya thanks Light with a smile before his party leaves. Later that night, Namumu asks Light if it was a good idea to give an SSR rank wish bracelet to Maya. Gold tells her that the wish bracelet can make a person's wish come true if they desire it enough. He thinks Light did the right thing by returning the young girl's favor, and Namumu realizes that not everything is about material value. Once Light's party reaches the snow-covered 5th floor, they notice that there aren't many people there. Gold thinks that the quiet floor is great for hiding their presence, but Namumu reminds him that his glaring gold armor isn't helping at all. Turning around, Light reminds them that they need to hunt yetis. After leaving them to their task, he teleports back home. Once he returns, the loyal 4 maids greet him in the palace. May takes Light to have tea and asks how his adventure is going. He tells her it's going fine and asks about the maids' preparations for their final war. Ellie tells him they're almost done, so Light wonders if he even needed to return home. He tells the girls to use any resources they need and continue their jobs, but Nazuna asks what her special mission should be. Knowing she's too stupid to trust with a complex plan, Light tells her to just guard the castle until her time comes. Itching for her turn to contribute, Nazuna tells Ellie to quickly finish her job since she can't make a move before her. With the prep almost done, Light sips his tea, looking forward to destroying Sasha. Meanwhile, Suvelin's party rests on the dungeon's 3rd floor at night. Suvelin asks Gilbert what he thinks about the rumors behind Light. So Gilbert says there's no way he's so powerful. However, Suvelin reminds him that they have Maya as a witness, so it's possible that Light is a reincarnation of some powerful hero. The thought of a human hero returning to the world and leading their race to victory gives both of them hope. Then Suvelin leaves to use the bathroom in the forest. Once he returns, he calls out to Gilbert, but finds his friend's decapitated head lying on the ground. He finds Kaito standing there impatiently, angry that Suvelin took so long to return. Realizing that his men died without a fight, Suvelin thinks he has no chance of surviving against the powerful elf. Meanwhile, Kaito stomps on Gilbert's head, trying to taunt Suvelin into getting angry. However, Suvelin remains calm and uses a smoke grenade to escape. While running away, he thinks that the elf can't see him to use his magic, but Kaito somehow spots him through the smoke. Flying with a magic spell, he easily knocks down Suvelin with an attack, leaving him completely shocked, as Suvelin notices the elf hovering with his spell. Yanak takes him out with his rod. He scolds Kaito for killing all the humans since he needed live subjects for his experiments. Kaito thinks that one subject should be enough, but Yanak says that he needs more since his experiments could always result in failures. The sinister dark elf grins maniacally, thinking that humans are just worthless vermin who deserve to be the fodder.
A sinister dark elf grins maniacally, thinking that humans are just worthless vermin who deserve to be the fodder for his twisted experiments. Meanwhile, Nemamu argues with the Adventurers Guild receptionist to raise Light's rank. The receptionist tells her that they just raised his rank straight to D from F, so she can't make any more exceptions. However, Nemamu still thinks her master deserves the S rank, while Gold tells her she's ruining his image with her bratty attitude. To calm Nemamu down, the receptionist tells her she can raise Light's rank even further if he performs a huge feat, which gives him an idea. Later that night, Light shows his servants a wanted poster of an unknown adventurer killer who has been terrorizing humans. Gold thinks that such a high-value criminal could easily get them the promotion, but Light wonders how to search for this mysterious person. Gold suggests pulling his gacha for a tracker card, so Light reminds him that the chances of pulling a good tracker in a short time are too low. While they discuss their plans, suddenly a portal opens up in their room. Light watches in shock as an unconscious Maya drops out of the portal and the bracelet on her hand breaks apart. He quickly puts the girl in a bed to rest and uses a healing spell to restore her health. After healing Maya, Light decides to check her memories since she's too exhausted to speak. From her memories, he learns that Maya's party met a group of adventurers who warned them about the adventurer killer. The kids wondered if the humans were just targeted by a monster, but the party told them that the killer used multiple magic spells, so they were clearly an intelligent person. After telling the kids to spread the word to other humans, the party left the dungeon to avoid being targeted. Maya's party also started hiking out of the dungeon. At night, Maya's brother noticed that everyone was tired after fighting all day. Left with no other choice, he allowed them to camp out in the middle of the dangerous dungeon. Suddenly, a group of mysterious figures showed up, and among them, Yanok asked the kids why they were out so late. The kids recognized Yanok's group, so they didn't think they posed any danger. Feeling concerned for their safety, they decided to warn them about the mysterious adventurer killer. As Maya's brother informed them about the killer, they thanked him for his kind warning. Seeing their friendly reaction, the kids felt safe around the elves. However, Kyuto suddenly said he should have covered up his actions, shocking the kids, as the two elves complained about their information spreading to the outside world. The kids wondered what was going on. Suddenly, Yanok's voice turned cold, and Kyuto pulled out his sword, exposing himself as the adventurer killer. The kids felt their blood run cold, and the boys told Maya to run while they held off the elves. Seeing his bravery, Kyuto felt enraged as Maya's brother charged at him. He mercilessly slashed the young boy's stomach, and Maya screamed in grief at her brother's death. Then the other two boys tried to hold off Kyuto, but he slashed them down as well. Watching them heavily injured, Maya felt frozen to the spot. However, the injured boys got back up and tried to fight to protect Maya. Seeing her remaining friends rush toward their deaths, Maya screamed for them to stop. Ignoring her cries, they kept going, but Kyuto ruthlessly cut them down despite Yanok's warning. When the two fell dead, Yanok scolded Kyuto for killing his test subjects. Kyuto scoffed, saying that he never planned to spare anyone who dared to fight for their life. Yanok still felt upset by his reckless actions, so Kyuto reminded him that he had left Maya alive, so he turns to the girl and tells Yanok that he could have some fun with her. However, Yanok felt disgusted by his behavior and left him alone to enjoy his twisted fantasies. When Kyuto prepares to violate the poor girl, Maya tells Kyuto to back away from her, but the narcissistic elf thought he was doing her a favor. Thinking that an inferior human like her didn't deserve his favor, he starts mocking Maya and tells her to thank him. The terrified girl resigned herself to her fate, but suddenly her brother's weak voice rang out. Surprised, Kyuto looks back and sees that Maya's brother somehow survived the deadly slash. His ability to survive so long caught Yanok's interest, so he tells Kyuto he wants the boy for his research. Although Kyuto felt annoyed, he agreed to let the boy alive. Meanwhile, Maya's brother tries to convince Maya to escape one last time, and she shed tears watching him sacrifice himself. Finally, she gets up to run, and Yanok tells Kyuto to capture her target, grumbling that he didn't like his orders. Kyuto prepares to catch her, but Maya's brother tried to attack him. As Kyuto shrugged off his weak attack, Yanok reminded him that he needed both siblings alive. Kyuto nodded, thinking it was too difficult to capture moving targets. However, Maya's brother started mumbling about battle strategies, which left the elf confused, as he recalled Gold's advice to use a shield and sword together. Maya's brother decided to combine both his offense and defense. The strategy gives him a burst of confidence, and he charged to Kyuto. The shocked elf barely avoids the young boy's surprising speed, but suddenly he brought his shield out of nowhere and knocked him to the ground. As the proud elf landed on his butt, he stared at Maya's brother, who laughed in triumph. Enraged by the blow to his pride, Kyuto took his anger out by piercing the little boy with a full-power strike. As the poor boy gasps from the unimaginable pain, Kyuto marched to finish him off, but Yanok stopped him. He reminded the enraged narcissist to catch Maya before she could spread the news outside the dungeon. As Maya blindly rushed to the dungeon's exit, Kyuto's sword suddenly blocks her way. As he hovers behind her, he declared that he'd punish her for trying to escape. Kyuto proudly revealed that he could corner her because of the Elven Kingdom's greatest treasure, Grandios, while Maya looked on in horror. As he approached her, Maya decided to do everything she could to escape for the sake of her friends. After focusing intensely, she summoned an icicle spell to attack Kyuto, but he easily shattered it. Using the moment of distraction, Maya tried to run again, but Kyuto knocked her down. He proudly told the girl she should accept her fate as a legendary hero's servant. However, she firmly told him he's a loser who could only bully the weak. Hearing her words, Kyuto got stunned and recalled all the times his fellow elves mocked him. Since Kyuto acted like a prick around them, they all hated him and called him a bully who rose to the top using his status. While he recalled the hurtful memories, Maya kept calling him a spineless piece of trash, which enraged him even more.
Unable to bear his hurt ego, he unleashed a powerful attack to finish her off. At that moment, Mia desperately wished Light was there. Just then, her bracelet activated and teleported her outside the dungeon. As the memory finally ends, Light clutches Mia's bracelet in his hand. Gold and Nemumu ask him what to do next, and he quietly tells them to move out. Back in the dungeon, Yanok finishes healing Mia's brother. When Kaido returns, Yanok asks him if he captured Mia, but Kaido has no idea where she went. Yanok is shocked that an elite elf soldier could lose track of a child, so Kaido tells him she randomly teleported into thin air. Shocked, Yanok refuses to believe him since he thinks a human couldn't possibly own a precious teleportation item. Yanok realizes they're in deep trouble. He tells Kaido that if the human guild spreads this news, the elves might hear about him. Kaido also gets terrified thinking about it since he actually stole Grandis away from the Elven Kingdom. He thinks about the terrifying elf White Knight army whose leader is at level 3000 with a weapon surpassing his own. Feeling like he's doomed, he starts stomping the ground. Yanok tries to calm him down, saying that they can fight back against the Elven army if he succeeds in his level limit breaking research. This gives Kaido some hope, and Yanok tells him to quickly hide so he can complete his research. Suddenly, Light appears in front of them, saying their time is up. Kaido recalls Light from the time he was humbled by him outside the dungeon, so he feels wary of him. However, Light ignores them and gently closes Gimra and Word's eyes, feeling sad for the bright young lives that were lost. Behind him, Gold informs him that Mia's brother, Elio, is still alive. Watching the boy in Gold's arms, Yanok is shocked since he was just treating him on the ground. Light heals the young boy and asks the elves why they inflicted so much suffering on the innocent children, as he recalls the young boys trying their best to earn money and support Mia's education. Light feels angered that it is all gone. Thinking that he could have been friends with the boys in a different world, he turns around to make the elves pay for their crimes. Seeing his anger, Kaido tells him they're innocent. However, Light tells them that he saw Mia's memories, so he knows they're the culprits. This leaves the elves stunned, so Light reassures them that he hasn't reported anything to the Adventurers Guild. At this news, Kaido starts laughing, thinking he's got a lucky break. Thinking he can easily kill Light to silence him, Kaido says that fate has protected him from misfortune because he's a hero. Light laughs, saying that the reason he didn't tell the guild is that he wants Kaido for himself. He tells the royal scumbag that he'll make him suffer pain worse than death for hurting his friends. Finally, Light firmly declares that he'll end Kaido's life with his own hands after punishing him, and tells Gold and Nemumu to stay out of his fight. As they back off, Light starts walking towards Kaido. Enraged that a human cursed him out, Kaido tries to attack Light with his sword. However, he easily stops his attack in its tracks with just his staff. As Yanok stares in shock, Light taunts Kaido, asking if that's all he's got. Angered, he keeps blindly slashing at Light, who effortlessly blocks every single strike. Watching the battle, Yanok thinks there's no way that a human child can defend against an elf soldier's attack so easily.
Meanwhile, Kaido keeps swinging his sword, desperately hoping to hit Light with a lucky strike. Light sighs before parrying his sword away, then punches Kaido straight in the gut, knocking the wind out of his lungs. Light taunts him, saying that he should try not to die from his practice punches. Despite getting thrashed like a kid, Kaido still thinks he's superior to humans. He gets back up and summons his grandest, which creates several magic swords in the sky. With the magic weapon's power, Kaido thinks he's invincible against Light, and launches the swords towards him. The attack's power surprises Light, so he starts dodging them. As each sword strike lands on the ground, it creates a different elemental effect. However, Nemumu still thinks that Light can handle it with ease. In the air, Light praises the sword's power, but he thinks it's not powerful enough to threaten him. Suddenly, Kaido appears behind him, so he quickly blocks his attack. Watching Light block it, Yanok feels disbelief that he defended an all-out strike from Kaido's magic sword. Finally, Kaido accuses Light of cheating, saying that he fights like a warrior even though he's dressed up as a mage. He starts stomping his foot in anger, thinking that humans are a bunch of scumbags who cheat their way to victory. Confused, Light tells him that he is indeed a mage, but Kaido refuses to believe him. Watching the elf so frustrated, Gold feels pity for Kaido, since Light's unlimited cards allow him to fight in any situation. Suddenly, Light creates multiple ice swords to attack Kaido, who tries to block it with his Grandis. The ice spikes rush forth, easily destroying each of Grandis's clones in front of the shocked elves. Refusing to give up, Kaido unleashes one final strike at Light, but Light destroys it along with the rest of his hopes and dreams. Seeing Light manipulate his ice swords as a barrier against Kaido's attack, Yanok felt numb from witnessing such overwhelming power. Finally, Light asks Kaido if he's done throwing his tantrum, and Kaido goes insane with rage. The arrogant elf thinks there's no way a human can defeat him, wondering how the Grandis can lose despite being a weapon used by a former maestro. Hearing the name of a maestro, Light gets surprised and asks Kaido what he knows about them. Kaido laughs and reveals that he was born with the blood of maestro, which makes him a sub-maestro himself.
Hearing that Kaito's body is holding some interesting secrets, Light decides to capture him and Yanok to experiment on them, as he plans to suck all the secrets out of their brains. Gold and Nemumu corner Yanok. However, the scientist doesn't get scared in the slightest, and instead summons two horrific blood monsters. As the monsters take shape, he proudly brags about fusing several humans and monsters to create the vicious abominations. For the first monster, Yanok fused a rock lizard from the Elven lands, while he created the other one from a dungeon troll. When Light looks at the troll monster, he realizes that one of its faces belongs to the hopeful adventurer, Gilbert. Both Gold and Nemumu feel disgusted by Yanok's horrific experiments, while he says that fusing different creatures is the best way to surpass their level limits. However, Yanok claims that he needs multiple humans to stabilize an experimental monster, so he needs thousands more to create his perfect Frankenstein. Watching him arrogantly blab about his crimes, Light clenches his staff in anger as Yanok starts yapping that he's the hero who will lead the races into a new era. Light tells him to shut up. This snaps him out of his tantrum, while Light tells Gold and Nemumu to put the human monsters out of their misery. He tells them to capture Yanok alive, since he needs to be punished for his crimes. As the two of them get ready to fight, Yanok confidently calls his monsters to battle them. However, they slash through both monsters with just a single attack, finally liberating the tortured people trapped within them. As the monsters go down, the duo prepares to capture Yanok, but he remains calm. Somehow, the mutated monsters stand back up and easily regenerate their fatal wounds. While Yanok continues to boast, his monsters continue attacking the duo. Meanwhile, Kaito attacks Light to prevent him from helping them. So Gold and Nemumu are left to fight alone, facing the monster's true power. Gold taunts Nemumu for losing her confidence, but she reminds him that he has also gotten serious. As the creatures continue driving them back, Yanok tells them to surrender and let him peacefully experiment on their bodies. Ignoring the insane elf,
Both of them decide to attack head-on and liberate the trapped people. After summoning their full power, Nemamu and Gold unleash their ultimate attacks, which wrap the monsters with their bright flames. Thinking that his beasts will easily shrug it off, Yanak keeps laughing. This time, his monsters don't regenerate, so he finally feels confused. Soon, the bright flames melt his hybrid monsters into a gooey puddle, and Yanak starts panicking. Suddenly, Nemamu kicks him in his twisted nuts, bringing him down to his knees. Watching the pathetic scientist frothing on the ground, Gold feels bad for him, while Nemamu thinks she needs to blowtorch her shoe to clean it. On the other hand, as Light forces Kaito back, the elf stares at him with fearful eyes. Light taunts him, reminding him of his arrogant bluster. Hearing his taunt, Kaito gets back up to fight. He raises his sword into the air and unleashes its maximum power, which creates a raging beam of energy. Revealing that this is Grandius's final power, he proudly tells Light to submit to him. Light is impressed by Kaito's power, as Kaito launches a devastating cleave at him. Although Light dodges the attack, the sword leaves a gigantic crevice in the ground. Kaito keeps slashing at him, desperately hoping to win with one attack. As the sword keeps curving around him, Light realizes that the sword has transformed itself into a flexible whip with its magic. Watching the scene from a distance, Nemamu thinks that although the technique is impressive for Kaito's level, it can't even scratch Light's body. While continuing to dodge the attacks, Light tells Kaito that it's just a flashy performance. Enraged, Kaito tells him to face the attacks instead of dodging them. And so, Light stops in his tracks and challenges Kaito to hurt his body with his strongest attack. Instead of realizing it's a trap, Kaito jumps up and slashes the sword down at Light, thinking he's strong enough to pulverize him. When the massive sword strikes Light, Kaito immediately loses all confidence after seeing what happens. Realizing Light is completely unharmed, he goes berserk and attacks him over and over. Kaito's tiny mind can't believe that a human would be unharmed after his strongest attack, so Light just shatters his magic blade with one blow. Then, he punches Kaito in the gut and sends him flying with another strike. As the elf struggles with his bloody face, Light tells him he's going to interrogate him. He calmly tells Kaito that he will only kill him once he has suffered enough for his crimes. Hearing this, the defeated elf finally drops to his knees. He begs Light to spare his life in exchange for all his secrets and the grandiose treasure. However, Light mocks him, saying that true heroes should fight to the end, instead of begging for their lives like spineless cowards. He reminds Kaito that real heroes are like the young children he mercilessly slayed, who sacrificed themselves just for a chance to save their friend. Refusing to let him go, Light tells Kaito he'll spare his life if he fights him again and damages even a single inch of his skin. Despite his offer, Kaito remains terrified and starts running away. Watching him run, Light uses a beam attack that pierces through his leg and leaves him handicapped. As he struggles with the wound, Kaito keeps whimpering and crying like an absolute wimp. Finally, Light walks up to him and states the obvious fact that Kaito is a piece of shit. After capturing the worthless elf, Light decides to bury the dead adventurers in his own abyss. While Light feels sad for the children, the elves shamelessly ask him about their fates. Nemamu shuts them up and Light tells them he's got questions for them. While Yanak knows he's doomed, Kaito keeps asking him for mercy. Seeing him shamelessly beg for his worthless life after killing so many innocent people, Light is enraged. Soon, he uses a teleportation spell that brings everyone straight to the throne room in his palace. After opening their eyes, the elves ask where they are. Light tells them they're in the abyss, which leaves them completely stunned. Yanak wonders why they've brought them to the most dangerous dungeon, so Nemamu explains that they live here. Shocked, Kaito says there's no way anyone could make a house in the abyss, so Nemamu starts stumping on the elves for yapping too much. Soon, Light's forehead maids enter the throne room, happy to see their master. As they come in, they ask Light who the elves are, so he reveals that they're heinous criminals. Once the maids learn about the elves' horrific crimes, they all glare daggers at them. Each maid offers to unravel the elves' insides and extract their secrets by force, but Light tells them to keep their hands to themselves before he finishes questioning them. With Light's warning, they all calm down, so he turns to Gold and tells him to heal Ao while he gets ready to bury Wordy and Gamera with Nemamu. Meanwhile, Yanak suddenly screams and starts acting as if Kaito had forced him to conduct his experiments. Shocked, Kaito also reveals that Yanak is the one who made him capture all those people as test subjects. As the two of them start fighting to prove their own worth, Light interrupts them. He reminds both arrogant elves about their past actions when they went around killing whoever they wanted. He asks them if their helpless victims also asked for mercy, which leaves them speechless. Knowing they screwed themselves over, the elves stay silent, so Light leaves saying he will simply return their own punishment to them. Afterward, he visits Mia, who finally wakes up from her slumber. She wonders where she is, so he tells her they're in his room. She is surprised, so Light explains that he has just returned from catching the adventurer killer. As she asks what happened to her friends, Light shows her her brother sleeping safely nearby. However, he tells her that Wordy and Gamera couldn't make it, which brings tears to her eyes. Light hands her the remains of her friends. She begins to cry, and he quietly leaves the room. Walking in the hotel's hallway, Light thinks it's his fault for being so focused on revenge. He thinks that if he cared a little more for the people around him, he could have avoided hearing the painful sound of someone crying. The next day, Light informs the guild that the adventurer killer is actually a pair of elves. With the information he gathered, the receptionist thinks he deserves a promotion straight to the S rank. He is surprised, since he couldn't bring back any proof of capturing the criminals. However, she thinks his intel alone and the two victims he saved from them are enough for the promotion. Later that night, Light talks to Mia and Ao at the inn. They inform him that they're leaving and sincerely thank him for all his help. Light wonders what they'll do next, so they reveal that they'll return to their hometown. Surprised, Light thinks they could easily find a new party. However, Mia says she's traumatized by her experience in the dungeon. She also thinks that her friends, Gamera and Wordy, gave her the courage to go on adventures in the first place, so she can't do it without them. Alio nods since he also doesn't want to continue without his friends, planning to return their remains to their hometown. Then, Light wonders if Mia will ever go to a magic school, so she tells him she'll self-study magic instead. After telling Light she'll be much stronger the next time they meet, Mia quietly asks if he will truly see her again. Light smiles and reassures her that they will, and she smiles back at him. The next day, Mia and Ao leave the inn, and Gold tells Light not to worry about them. Nemamu nods, thinking things will be better the next time they meet. Light agrees, thinking that he'll take the siblings to Wordy and Gamera's real graves once he can reveal his true identity to them.
Then he turns around and informs Gold and Nemamu that he's heading back to the palace. After returning, he meets Ellie and May and asks them what they learned from the two elves. Mai hands him some papers containing all their findings, and Ellie explains that she used forbidden magic to draw the information from their brains. Mai also reassures him that she thoroughly interrogated the elves to double-check and verify all the information. As Light looks through the papers, Ellie explains that sub-maestros are simply those who have a blood relation with a maestro. While Ellie concludes that this blood relation allows sub-maestro to level up quicker than their peers, Mai reveals that a maestro could destroy the entire world if left unchecked. Light gets confused by this, thinking there's no way one person could destroy the whole world. As he wonders if there is more than one maestro alive in their world, the girls explain that they only got this information from a fuzzy memory. It turns out that Kaito heard this information from the Elven White Knight captain. So Light thinks their next stop is to find this person. Then he asks both girls how Kaito and Yanak are doing. So Ellie shows them their current condition. Seeing them bloodied and utterly shattered, Light thinks it's time to get rid of the living pieces of trash. He unleashes a special card called Dead Man's Banquet, which launches a horrifying mass of mouths on the elves. As the mouths rip and tear their bodies apart, they scream in unimaginable pain before finally disappearing forever. Once the elves are gone, Light asks Ellie about their main plan. She tells him that the preparations are complete so they can start his revenge on Sasha whenever he wants.
Ellie explains that Sasha is actually engaged to the vice captain of the Elven White Knights, so by capturing him, they can easily get leverage over her. Satisfied with her planning, Light tells her to begin the plan immediately. Meanwhile, Sasha sits with her fiancé Michael discussing the time she destroyed Light's hope. Michael thinks it must have been a fun experience, remembering all the times he has exterminated human villages. He tells Sasha that humans make pathetic faces while begging for their lives, and she agrees, thinking they're the ugliest creatures on Earth. Michael thinks he's lucky to find a lady just as disgustingly racist as him. On the other hand, Light feels excited to finally get his revenge on Sasha, wanting to see the pathetic look on her face while begging him for mercy.
Back in the elf continent, Sasha rides a carriage home happy with her meeting with Michael. She thinks he's the best fiancé she could have gotten. Her maid feels proud of her, thinking about her upcoming marriage. Feeling shy, Sasha tells her it's still a while before her wedding, but the maid thinks she should begin her preparations already. Suddenly, their carriage stops abruptly as a slave man drops some goods in front of it. As his angry elf owner whips the malnourished man to make him work faster, Sasha thinks humans are completely useless. Just then, Light walks into a dark alley and Sasha immediately recognizes him. Shocked, she gets off her carriage and runs towards him, thinking she must be mistaken about his identity. As she moves through the alleys, she realizes he's gone and soon finds herself at a dead end. Thinking it was just her imagination, she feels relieved that Light isn't actually here. However, when she turns around, she finds a message from Light inviting her to meet him at the giant tower. Since this news is too much for Sasha to handle, she lets out a panic scream. Soon, her maid comes rushing over while Sasha thinks she's about to lose all of the rewards she got from her mission to kill Light. Watching her break down from a roof, Light tells Ellie to handle the rest. After getting his order, she starts fantasizing about how hard she's going to ruin Sasha for hurting her precious master. With all the preparations done, they turn around to begin the final part of their revenge plan. Elsewhere in the Elven barracks, two soldiers named Nhia and Kanhia amuse themselves by throwing daggers at a helpless bound man. Nearby, a perverted elf named Sharp Hat touches his human slave while his partners Must and the elf captain watch in silent disgust. Sharp Hat tells his captain about Kaido's adventures with Yanak. He explains that Kaido went on a killing spree and was eventually killed by a human set, and that the Elven higher-ups not want their team to avenge him. Although Sharp Hat doesn't care, since Kaido was a dropout who abandoned them, Must believes it's their duty to avenge a former friend. Meanwhile, as Nhia and Kanhia keep abusing the poor man, Sharp Hat tells them to finish him off. They refuse, saying that they'll play with their slave as they wish. Then they criticize Sharp Hat for publicly committing such degenerate actions, so he gets offended. Behind them, Must tells the two boys that they should put the humans out of their misery, because it's a great achievement to be killed by the hands of an elf. Sharp Hat thinks Must is too rigid with his principles, but he firmly states that a person should know when to take things seriously. Suddenly, the captain orders everyone to shut up, and the pressure of his aura instantly silences their big mouths. He tells Nia and Kanhia to stop torturing people before telling Must to loosen up a bit. Then he barks an order at Sharp Hat, who quickly puts an end to this human slave. Once the man is dead, the captain tells Nhia and Kanhia to clean up the mess. As they obediently nod, he then tells Must to get ready for work. Meanwhile, that slave girl tears up from the terror of watching a fellow human die, so Sharp Hat tells her she can rest in her room. As the scared girl quickly runs away, the captain tells Sharpie to stop fooling around with humans. He reminds him that elves consider their bloodlines sacred, so they can't go around having children with inferior races. Instead, the captain points out that elves have history of marrying the prestigious maestros, so he should do his best to keep up the tradition. As Sharp Hat points out that they've all stopped leveling up despite having such powerful bloodlines, the captain tells him it's because they've diluted their blood through crossbreeding. Sharp Hat finally cracks and says he has no intention of having children with human slaves, since he's just fooling around. He thinks it's hilarious to make weak women believe he has chosen them and to watch them try their best to please him. Behind them, as Nhia and Kanhia drag the corpse of the slave, they tell Sharp Hat he's a pervert with a sick mind. Once the camera's gone, Sharp Hat thinks it's time to get rid of that slave girl since he's bored, and asks the captain if he wants to execute her. The captain refuses and gets up, saying they should avenge Kaido and the honor of the Elven Queen, even if he was a failure who left them. Later at night, as Sasha sleeps in her room, she wakes up from a noise outside her house. Some distance away, a magic circle appears and constructs a giant tower in the middle of the forest. Ellie appears at the top of the tower and waits for Sasha to show up. Back in her room, Sasha watches the mysterious tower from her window, wondering if that's where Light invited her to go. Elsewhere in the forest, an elf is transporting some slaves when he gets stopped by a ferocious Orthos. Afraid for his life, the elf abandons the helpless children and runs away while the Orthos approaches them. The next day, the driver heads to a tavern where people discuss that their forest has been swarmed by dangerous monsters. As one elf wonders if the monsters are spawning from the giant tower, the other one tells him that their queendom can't even investigate it because they're short-staffed. Throughout the city, the queendom's officials have put out bounties in exchange for information on the strange tower. As Light takes a look at one of these posters, he feels surprised that so many elves have gathered to take on the dark challenge. Nearby, two elven adventurers get the hots for Nimumu, so they start flirting with her. As they brag about being level 150, they tell her to ditch Gold, the metal grandpa, and the boy next to her. However, she coldly refuses them, so Light politely asks the elves to leave her alone. Angered by their refusal, they try to attack him, so he stops them with a thunderbolt spell. Seeing him cast the spell instantly without an incantation, the elves realize that Light's party is none other than the infamous Black Fools. After that, all the elves back away from them, so Light leaves with his party, knowing that word will quickly spread about them. While they walk away, Light hopes that Aoyuki is handling everything just fine. Meanwhile, in the forest, a group of elves uses a chained girl as their lead while they cautiously scout the forest for information. Although one of them feels scared of the dangers, the other tells him that they'll just use the girl as bait to escape any monster attack.
While the elves think their plan is foolproof, the girl stumbles and sits down to catch her breath. However, her master threatens to beat her, so she gets back up to walk again. As the elves spout arrogant nonsense about humans being useless, some saliva suddenly drips on his hand. Surprised, he looks up at the huge monster above him, right before his worthless head is crushed into bits. Watching the Orthos monster easily lift up their lifeless friend's body, the other elves remain frozen in fear. Then the monster kills both of them and approaches the young girl. Seeing the ferocious monster, she thinks her life is over, but it leaves after sniffing her scent before she even has a chance to celebrate. Some thugs walk over thinking they're lucky to get a treasure like her. As the girl thinks her life is about to get even more miserable right after getting freedom, the thugs actually pour some healing potion over her wounds. The little girl wonders why they're helping someone like her. Then, the thugs start planning to get her some fresh clothes, food, and a walking stick, while their leader reports to Aoki that they've saved another person as she rests atop the giant tower. Ellie asks her how her mission is going. She wonders if it's difficult for Aoki to control so many monsters roaming the forest, but the cat girl says she's fine. Surprised, Ellie asks Aoki if she's also okay with dealing with any intruders that get in the way of their plan. When she tells Ellie it's fine, she starts doubting her, thinking that Light put too much burden on one person. Ellie thinks that Aoki could make a mistake controlling the monsters and endanger an innocent person's life, but Aoki tells her she's overthinking it. Then Ellie asks her if their only purpose is to act like Light's puppets without a second thought. So Aoki tells her that's exactly what they're supposed to do. She thinks that no matter what, they should always obey her master. But Ellie thinks that she's being too extreme by acting as a pet for him. Angered by her defiance, Aoki threatens to kill her for doubting their master's plan. Completely unafraid, Ellie asks Aoki if she truly thinks she can beat her. The cat girl tells her she's going to try, and things get serious between the two of them. Before they can begin a bloody death match, the thugs call Aoki after reaching the base, so they both calm down. Down at the base, they hand over the rescued girl to an old man who is taking care of all their rescued victims. As they leave her at the foster home, the girl thanks the thugs, and they tell her to take care. Seeing how Aoki is carefully managing all of the humans' lives, Ellie finally believes she can trust her to handle the forest alone. Later that night, Sasha wonders how she'll visit Light, since all the monsters in the forest are too strong for her, since she knows that the White Knights will soon investigate the dangerous area. She thinks it'll get her exposed for failing to kill Light. Left with no other choice, she decides to go there and finish him off no matter what. The next day, the elven royalty and nobles hold a meeting to discuss the tower. Sitting at the table, the elf chancellor suggests sending the White Knights to investigate the area. However, Captain Hardy refuses, saying that there's no need to mobilize his powerful troops just for a small mystery. Watching their tense exchange, the rest of the nobles remain silent, since only their queen is powerful enough to settle the dispute. Finally, the Elf Queen speaks up and declares that Hardy's plan is the wisest and orders them to increase the rewards for any interested adventurers to explore the forest for them. After the Queen's verdict is delivered, the other elf nobles leave, while the Chancellor feels frustrated that Hardy got his wish in the end. Later, Hardy thanks his mother, the Queen, for saving his troops from grunt work. His mom says there's no way she'd endanger her precious baby boy. While Hardy thinks the Chancellor is annoying him by playing politics in this dangerous situation, the Queen chuckles, amused by her son's anger, but he tells her it's not a laughing matter. He thinks that the Chancellor wants to abolish the monarchy, but she thinks there's no way he can pull it off with her trusty son around. Then the Queen gets up and tells Hardy that the giant tower is a much bigger issue than the Chancellor. As she tells him it could destroy their entire country, he feels surprised. Hardy wonders if another Dark Lord is coming, so the Queen tells him that with the help of the other races combined, they can pool their strengths to defeat him. However, she also points out that the birth of a Dark Lord would trigger the rise of a hero among the human race, which could cause them a lot of trouble. The Queen feels frustrated that they can't just wipe out the entire human race to avoid this risk. But Hardy reminds her that if they do that, they'll end up looking like the bad guys themselves. Then, he thinks that if the humans actually produce a hero on the level of a maestro, the elves would have to befriend or kill them to protect themselves. The mention of a maestro reminds Hardy about Light, who was rumored to be a maestro a few years ago. The Queen tells him that person was exterminated since he wasn't strong enough. So, Hardy turns around to leave. As he walks away, Hardy thinks that all humans deserve to be wiped out for causing so much trouble to his precious race. Meanwhile, in the Elven city, Light's party walks around the streets as they notice the two adventurers from earlier glaring at them. They wonder if the two will try to attack them. Behind them, Sasha catches a glance at Light's face and immediately calls out to him. Niminu and Gold get ready for a fight, but Light tells them to stay back. Sasha approaches Light. She asks him to remove his mask. He tells her that the mask is only hiding some burn scars on his face, but she refuses to believe him and instead knocks it off.
Although Light feels the urge to put Sasha in her place, he lets her take off his mask since he wants to properly savor his revenge at the right moment. Angered by Sasha's rudeness, Nimumu lashes out but Light holds her back. Then he takes off his hood, revealing horrifying burn scars. Sasha is shocked when she sees them and realizes he's not the person she was looking for. So she leaves the area. Once she's gone, Light feels satisfied that the burn scar illusions worked perfectly to repel Sasha, since it would have been hard to control himself. He thanks Gold and Numumu for staying out of the altercation. Gold feels like Sasha is completely insufferable, and Light agrees, thinking about how he fell hard for her sick lies all those years ago. Then he reminds Gold and Numumu to get back on track and heads back into the forest with them. While the three of them run through the forest, the two elves from earlier chase after them. Light tells the idiots to just back away, but they refuse to listen to him. After a while, they reach a deep spot within the forest where they're supposed to meet with some of Light's servants. Since nobody is there, he decides to wait for them. However, he is surprised to see that the elves actually manage to keep up with their speed. The elves act like they won't let Light escape from them, so he praises them for having backbone. While Nimumu thinks it's a shame the two idiots go around bullying others instead of getting a real job with their abilities, the elves act like they're doing them a favor, claiming that it's the greatest honor for a human to be killed by their holy elf race. Tired of their yapping, Light calls out Meira to take care of them since the elves can't see anyone else. They think Light is bluffing and start taunting him for acting like a hotshot just because his party has become popular. Just then, a creepy woman suddenly appears behind them. Meira tells the two elves they've sealed their own fate by insulting her master. As her arms grab the elves, they turn into grotesque fleshy mouths that brutally devour them alive. Once Meira finishes devouring the idiots, Light apologizes for making her deal with them. She reassures him it's fine, saying that even if the elves tasted like total crap, she doesn't mind doing it for her master. Gold admits that Meira's abilities are great, but he thinks she's a bit terrifying to be around. Even Nimumu agrees with him. Despite always being against him, not taking their jokes to heart, Meira reminds the two of them that they shouldn't be scared since they're all friends. At that moment, three more of Light's servants approach the group, led by a maid named Ice Heat. Following her, Suzu and Jack also make their way ready for duty in the forest. After Light thanks them for their help, Ice Heat turns to Suzu and tells her to lead the way. Suzu quietly nods, so Ice Heat tells her to be more respectful. Afraid of upsetting their master, Suzu's musket, Lockedge, apologizes to Light. Since Light knows Suzu is shy, he doesn't mind if she stays quiet. Soon they all move out together, and Gold thanks Jack for tagging along with the team. Jack tells him he just had to do it for the bro code since Gold was out there grinding away. While Gold appreciates his thoughtfulness, Jack reveals that it was Ellie's idea to send him. He also says there's no way he'd abandon his man Light, but suddenly, all the girls start glaring at him. Surprised, Jack asks if they're really angry at him for using a nickname for their master. While Light stays silent, Jack tells the girls they're making Light only lonelier by turning him into some sort of unapproachable figure. Even Gold gets nervous seeing Jack fan the flames, and Light finally tells Jack to chill out. He reminds the girls that he has an understanding with Jack, so he doesn't mind if he uses nicknames for him. Although the women immediately nod at Light's suggestion, the mood gets even worse in the group. As they move on, Light sighs noticing how different Ice Heat is looking out of the abyss. He wonders why she switched to a combat outfit since she's always dressed up as a maid in the abyss. Ice Heat explains she was receiving maid training under May. Since she'll be involved in a fight on the surface, Ice Heat decided to switch to her combat gear for the mission. Laughing at her explanation, Mayra tells her to just ditch the maid outfit since it'll hold her back. This offends Ice Heat, so she reminds Mayra she can't act so inappropriately in front of everyone just for her amusement. While the two women start bickering, Light feels relieved that he was able to lighten the mood. Meanwhile, Jack asks Gold if he slacked off on training while he wasn't around, but Gold naturally shakes his head. Seeing the two of them get along, Light thinks the group will be fine going forward. Then, he shifts his attention to Suzu and explains that she suffers from shyness, so she only feels comfortable speaking with her musket, Locke. Then, he asks Nimumu if Suzu is even a real girl. Confused, Nimumu nods, so he explains that Suzu's card actually showed her as androgynous, so he needs to check what that means later. Back at the tower, Ellie is impatiently waiting with Aoyuki. When the group finally shows up, as they arrive, Nazuna and the other two girls come rushing over to greet Light. Soon, Ellie leads them inside the giant tower, revealing a massive, spacious room. She explains that the rooms are all furnished with technologies she reverse-engineered from the Abyss's core, so the tower is completely safe from external attacks. Inside, they're greeted by a massive dragon, but Ellie explains it's just her pet. She then tells Light that the top floor was built to serve as a wedding hall for his final act, so they all head there. Once inside, Light walks up the stairs and sits down on his throne, and Ellie offers to reiterate their mission plan for everyone. She begins explaining that the plan is to congratulate Sasha on her upcoming wedding before serving her the revenge she deserves. Although she thinks Light's plan was complete, Ellie had revealed that she added some modifications to it to add some extra spice to his revenge. She explains that since the Elven White Knights are the strongest warriors of their queendom, she has arranged some matches between them and their soldiers for them to crush. Then she plans to capture the White Knights and cut off the Elven Kingdom's power, which would allow them to get all the information on Maestros they need, since they need to get more information on the rest of the 9 races as well. Ellie designed the giant tower to be a secure fortress for the base of their operations.
Then she summons a shadow clone of Light, explaining that it'll help the Black Mali rank up on its own, while he stays behind to observe how everything unfolds. Pleased by her careful preparations, Light praises Ellie. She tells him that Nazuna is currently luring Sasha toward the giant tower, using her beasts. In the forest, Sasha feels scared of all the terrifying monsters surrounding her. However, she keeps going towards the giant tower, since settling things with Light is the only way she can live peacefully. Back in the tower, Light wonders what'll happen once she gets to there. So Ellie tells him that her pet will greet all their guests. Outside, when Sasha sees the huge dragon, she gets scared and backs out. Ellie watches her leave through a camera and tells Light that Sasha will soon return with the White Knights to help her. Finally, she promises to arrange a perfect match by using their soldiers against the elves, saying it'll be a spectacle worthy of Light's. Later that night, in the Elven Queendom, Sasha calls over a royal meeting to discuss the giant tower. She explains to all the elf nobles that many giant monsters are prowling around the tower, which has caused the other monsters to spread out to the forest's outer area. Then she also reveals that the tower itself is guarded by a fearsome dragon, which shocks them all. However, the elven nobles refuse to believe such a tall tale, thinking there's no way such powerful creatures would just pop out of nowhere. Sasha tries to convince them that she's speaking the truth. Just then, the Chancellor explains that not too long ago, they received a similar report from the Black Mili. He points out that despite 2 credible sources finding matching evidence, Hardy is still refusing to mobilize his White Knights and lets everyone else do the dirty work for him. Facing the Chancellor's taunt, Hardy remains silent before finally declaring that he'll lead out the White Knights against this dangerous dragon. After Hardy leaves the room, Sasha asks the Chancellor if she can accompany the White Knights on their mission to the giant tower. The Chancellor reveals he was going to make her accompany them from the start, as a reward for reporting this important information. However, he warns her to take a certain item from her father's collection with her, since she won't be able to contribute to the fight at her strength level, and she agrees. Later that night, Sasha asks her father if he can grant her request. The next day, Hardy gathers all the White Knights and briefs them on their game plan, as he explains that Sasha will lead the way. Sharp Hat wonders if she'll be able to keep up with them. She reassures everyone that she'll be fine, and Michael offers to protect Sasha if anything goes wrong. Meanwhile, Enya and Kia mention that Sasha is joining them because of the Chancellor's orders.
carrying her family's secret item with her. While the twins think it's because Michael is good friends with the Chancellor, Sharp Hat feels upset that the Queendom's nobles are dragging politics into their mission. Meanwhile, in the tower, Ellie shows the scene to Light using her magic. He asks her how Sasha's doing, so she zooms in on her face, seeing Sasha hard at work. Light praises Ellie for bringing her here with her careful plan. He then notices his own hand trembling. Realizing that his body is shaking from excitement, wondering the kind of twisted faces Sasha will make when he finally exacts her revenge, Light can only pray that she arrives as soon as possible. Back in the forest, Sharp Hat wonders if Sasha is even leading them down the right path. But she explains that she marked the route the last time she came, pointing out the marks on the trees. However, she stumbles on a hard route, so Michael quickly catches her. Watching the two of them romance it out in the misty forest, Sharp Hat wonders how they can pull it off. Back on the tower, Aoyuki notices that the White Knights are quickly approaching. Soon they all pull up in front of the tower, where the gate opens up to greet them. From the tower's interior, two giant Orthos monsters walk out and enter the forest. After those monsters leave, even more monsters move out, so Sharp Hat wonders if they should attack. Hardy tells him to stay back since their main concern is the dragon, and reminds him that the adventurer party they hired will also launch a diversion. Soon flares go off in the forest, which attract the huge monsters to rush towards them. After they leave, the captain asks Sasha if those were the only Orthoses in the tower. When she nods, Hardy tells his team to begin the attack, since the tower is now empty, save for the dragon. However, he still reminds his team to keep up their guard, since the tower could be hiding other monsters. To infiltrate the area, Hardy casts a silence spell that completely blocks all sound around their team. Surprised by the chilling emptiness, Sasha admits that Hardy deserves his fame with his twisted methods. While rushing through the tower, the elves suddenly stepped on a hidden teleportation circle, which scatters them all around different areas, watching them trapped in the tower's maze. Light looks forward to watching the elves struggle all the way into his clutches.
Michael and Sasha end up getting transported together to a basement floor where Michael immediately realizes that it was all a setup and someone must have planned out all the traps beforehand. Sasha asks, who could that be? But even Michael doesn't have the answer, as he replies that they can only know that once they climb up the stairs to see who's waiting for them at the top. Ellie and Light watch them as Michael and Sasha start climbing up the stairs, moving towards the top floor. And Light realizes that he is incredibly excited for the moment that the door opens and Sasha steps in to see his face. Meanwhile, the elf twins Ya and Kia are also together on a different floor in the darkness and confused about what just happened. They wonder whether they should try and regroup with the others. But before they could even come to a decision, they hear voices coming from behind them. The voices turn out to be Mira and Ice Heat, who were discussing how they are supposed to deal with these weak-ass elves. Mira suggests that Ice Heat can just sit back and enjoy while she deals with both of them. But Ice Heat calls her a gluttonous pig, claiming that they should each get one of these idiots. The elf twins can't believe their ears, as they have never heard anyone make fun of them and take them so lightly before this. Mira and Ice Heat, however, don't even pay any attention to them and continue talking amongst each other. Ice Heat tells Mira not to get overconfident, as even a cornered rat can bite the cat chasing it. But Mira claims that these low-life losers are more like a bunch of pesky mosquitoes and nothing else. She asks Ice Heat whether she seriously thinks that these elves can even defeat one of them, and Ice Heat replies that there's no way in hell that these second-rate elves could even come close to their level. But still, they shouldn't play with their prey too much. This was enough for the twins to get riled up, as within an instant, the two elves rush at Mira and Ice Heat with rage in their eyes, claiming that they are the submerse of this continent and no being in this world can call them second-rate. Mira and Ice Heat effortlessly dodge the attack and stay in the air while the twins start using their speed and bouncing from one pillar to another in a blur before appearing behind them to chop them down. Even that surprise attack was useless though, as the two girls nonchalantly duck through the attack and descend back down to the floor. Mira tells Ice Heat that these elves are more like flying squirrels at this point, which again pisses the twins off as they decide to take the fight directly to their opponents. Meanwhile, Sharp Hat is alone in the darkness on a completely different floor. He lets out a big sigh, wondering how he didn't see the teleportation trap coming, and knows that Hardy is going to scream at him later for that. He is not as dumb as the others, though, and immediately senses that he is not alone. So he calls out his opponent to come out of the darkness and explain what's going on. And his opponent turns out to be Suzu. Just one look at her was enough to get him all riled up, as he immediately starts simping for her. Suzu has a knee-jerk reflex to the creep, while Sharp Hat royally asks her name, claiming that he is ready to become her knight in shining armor.
Suzu gets even more turned off at that when finally her gun speaks up, telling Sharp Hat that Suzu doesn't talk. Sharp Hat's mind immediately gets distracted as he realizes that the gun is an intelligent weapon. The gun tells him not to worry about remembering their name though, as he wouldn't really need it because they are soon going to destroy him and everything that he holds. Sharp Hat's head drops down as he feels annoyed that not only did he miss the trap before, but now he has to fight with a hottie for no reason. He gives it one more try, telling Suzu that they can put the fighting on hold for now and get to know each other better. The gun tells Sharp Hat that Suzu is not interested as he is not her type, but Sharp Hat is completely without any shame and asks Suzu about her type so he could work to become like that. Suzu tells the gun that her type is short kings with black hair and a receding hairline. The gun immediately realizes that she is simping for Light and tells her that the ship has sailed and Light has too many girls around him, so she will have to wait her turn. This makes her angry, and she starts smacking the gun into a pillar while the gun begs her to stop. Sharp Hat, however, has seen enough and claims that he would have rather taken her as his personal plaything, but it's all okay as he will get what he wants one way or another. He quickly points his arm up and uses an invisible crossbow to shoot at Suzu. To his surprise, Suzu manages to sense the invisible bolt and dodges the strike before shooting a bullet of her own, which Sharp Hat quickly deflects. He is impressed by the fact that not only did she sense his invisible attack, but dodged it and went on a counter as well. The gun praises Sharp Hat as well, claiming that very few people can deflect her bullet like he did. Sharp Hat starts smiling as he prepares another bolt, realizing that this is going to be much more fun than he initially thought. Back in the upper floor, the twins are still bouncing among the pillars as they know that they give them a great advantage. While moving at that speed, they also manage to use their wind cutter ability, which the girls easily dodge, but they soon try it once more. The girls manage to move out of the way once again, but realize that they can't let their guard down too much and should deal with them quickly. The twins, however, keep going full tilt, spamming their one ability. Ice Heat claims that they can't keep this for long, but the twins reply that they can keep doing this for hours without breaking a sweat. That could be a little annoying to deal with, but soon the twins decide to change their strategy. They move towards one of the pillars and use an advanced version of their basic wind cutter ability, creating thousands of tiny little blades flying towards Mira and Ice Heat. This is a little more difficult to dodge, and while they were busy trying to dodge that, Kia throws a dagger which stabs Mira in the stomach, while Ia manages to slash her arm clean off. They drop down to the ground, laughing that soon every single limb they have will be on the floor.
To their surprise, the girls don't seem bothered at all, and Mira asks Ice Heat whether she has got the idea of how strong they are. Ice Heat replies that she has, and they are even weaker than she had imagined. This pisses the twins off, who scream that they are the ones winning this battle. But to their horror, Mira grabs the fallen arm and eats it right in front of them. This scares the out of the twins, who have no idea how that is possible. So Mira decides to show them something better and rips her own head off, throwing it around like a lol. The twins are horrified and ask, "Who the hell is she?" Mira finally introduces herself and Ice Heat as two ultra-rare cards, level 77,777. The twins are stunned to hear that and refuse to believe that something like that even exists, immediately deciding to attack them once again. But this time, they don't even block their attacks, claiming that it's not worth the effort to block them. This really scares them, and they immediately start running, while Mira laughs like a maniac. Ice Heat decides to end this and starts charging a powerful heat blast, while Mira covers herself with a shield. Meanwhile, on the lower floor, Sharp Hat is constantly on the offensive, sending bolts after bolts at Suzu, controlling their trajectory and even using a barrage of crossbow bolts all at once, hoping that it would do the trick. To his surprise, Suzu manages to get out of that without even a scratch, which excites him even more, and he tells Suzu that she should just leave the loser Light Guy and become his girlfriend. That was enough to get Suzu mad though, as she starts glowing with anger, ready to kill the annoying elf. Back on the upper floor, the elves end up hitting a dead end and decide to move along the boundary to try and find the exit. But before they could do that, they start feeling the floor getting hotter. To their horror, a wave of heat hits them as Ice Heat shoots her heat blast.
The elves realize that they will burn to crisp, so they quickly start chanting a bunch of spells and create a huge ice wall to protect themselves. To their surprise, the ice wall melted immediately, forcing them to recreate it. They continue creating ice walls, but soon they run out of mana, and their entire armor starts melting in the intense heat. Soon they get completely consumed by the heat, disappearing from sight, and only then ice heat stops. She soon realizes that she might have accidentally killed the two idiots, but light wadded them alive. Thankfully, Mira tells her that Ellie used some protective enchantments so that these idiots won't die. If not for her, these two elves would have been charred to a crisp. The twins lay on the ground, burned and defeated, begging for mercy, but Mira tells them that they will get the same mercy that they gave the humans, and uses her tentacles to them as Light wants to extract all the information from them before he makes them feel the most devastating pain ever. Back at the lower floor, Sharp Hat finally realizes what he has done when Susu shoots a bunch of bullets in the air and then blasts them all towards the elf. Sharp Hat starts running for his life, trying to dodge all the bullets, but he realizes that he is outmatched beyond any doubt. He turns around to try and block the bullets with his own bolts, but it's of no use, as soon a barrage of bullets hit him all over the body, leaving him bloodied and near death on the floor. Sharp Hat begs for help, but only finds an enraged Susu standing above him. She is not done yet, though, and starts smashing his face in with her boot, telling him to die, and would have killed him for sure, if not for the gun talking some sense into her, telling her that Light wanted to know their full potential first before capturing them. Susu immediately realizes that she has messed up and tries to heal Sharp Hat so that he could fight again, but the gun tells her to let it go, as he is too beaten up to do anything now. She starts crying at her mistake, while the gun tries to tell her that Light won't get mad at an honest mistake like this. Meanwhile, on a completely different floor, Jack finds Must all alone with his axe and tells him honestly that he is supposed to fight with him, but suggests that Must should drop in the towel because it isn't in his nature to pick on weaklings. Must gets annoyed at this, but keeps himself under control, claiming that Jack should be honored that he is going to die at the hands of an elf above level 1500. Jack tells him not to worry, as he himself is level 77,777. An ultra-rare card at that. Must doesn't believe that, claiming that Jack should throw in a believable bluff. But Jack simply smiles, claiming that he should simply use his appraisal skill to verify it. He notices a look in his eyes and makes fun of him, asking whether he even has it or not. Must gets mad, claiming that he doesn't need to check a fraud idiot Aisculenta, and lunges at him with his axe, trying to get it over quick. But to his surprise, Jack swats it away like a fly. Must is beyond shocked at this, but thinks that it was just beginner's luck, and starts trying to land a barrage of hits at him. Jack obviously easily deflects all the attacks, which confuses Jack, as these attacks were supposed to be strong enough to even give Captain Hardy some trouble. But Jack simply uses his fingers to blast him into the Must wall. Must comes out of the wall shocked to his core, but refuses to believe that a human could be that strong. He starts spouting nonsense about how humans are beneath them and deserve a fate worse than death. With that, he brings down his halberd, which turns out to be a magical weapon, and activates it. Jack realizes that the halberd is eating at the boy's soul and life to gain power, but Must doesn't seem to care. He shouts at the halberd to take as much as it wanted, but give him the power to defeat this human. And then with every single bit of power he could muster, he lunges towards Jack, who simply uses his iron armor skill and blocks the attack just with his arm. With that, his entire body gets covered with a thick iron shield, and with a single punch, he sends Must flying into the wall, bloodied and unconscious. He walks over and picks up the boy, wondering whether he killed him, but thanks to Ellie's magic, everything seems to be fine, and he is still alive. On the upper floor, the last and final member of the White Knight, Captain Hardy, remains, who finally comes in contact with Nizuna, who smiles and takes out her sword, hoping for a good fight.
Hardy stays calm and composed, making sure that he doesn't miss anything, which confuses Nazuna a little. She wonders whether Hardy is hard of hearing and shouts out again that she is the strongest here and will fight him. Hardy calmly looks at her and replies that he hears her well and asks whether she is an enemy of his.
Nazana smiles and replies that she is indeed an enemy of hers, since her master doesn't like the white knights and wants to get rid of them. Hardy maintains his composure and analyzes the situation. He notices that even though Nazana looks young, she is not someone to be taken lightly, and if she is so devoted to her master, that would mean that her master is even stronger than her. He slowly takes out his sword, thinking that it doesn't really matter whether her master is stronger than her though, because no one is stronger than him. Nazana simply smiles and calls him forward so that they can have a good battle before she beats him and drags him to her master. Hardy stands and checks her armor keenly, realizing that it is infused with magic at a lot of points, and even the greatsword, which should be incredibly heavy, seems like nothing in her hand as she swings it around like a small stick. It's clear that Nazana has inhuman strength, but he must test her to know the limits of this strength. Nazana, being the impatient girl she is, decides to go with the first move since Hardy is being too slow, so she tells him to get his guard up. And with that, she wings her sword to create a massive shockwave towards Hardy. The shockwave is so strong that it shatters Hardy's sword cleanly in half and cuts him across the body before blasting the wall behind him completely open. Hardy goes into a shocked state and simply slumps over to the ground, unable to believe what just happened as the walls behind him crumbled. Ellie's voice comes booming as she scolds Nazana for breaking the walls to her tower, and Nazana immediately tries to cover her mistakes, claiming that it's just a scratch and that the wall is perfectly fine. Light simply smiles as Ellie tells Nazana that she made the walls of this floor twice as strong as any other because of her, but she even managed to break through this, which now she will have to repair using her mana. Nazana apologizes once again, promising that this won't happen again. When she hears a small whisper coming from Hardy, she turns around and notices that he starts using a healing spell on himself and stands up once again with his broken sword in his hand. Ellie warns Nazana to go easy this time and not to cause any more destruction. Nazana promises to be more careful this time and turns towards Hardy, who apologizes to her for leaving her seriously enough and promises that he will now treat her as a proper opponent and give his all. With that, he pulls out a move from Jujutsu Kaisen and uses domain expansion on Nazana, causing her to get entrapped in a soundless barrier, making everything around her quiet. Hardy knows that his barrier not only gives him a great advantage, but also saps out the abilities of his opponents and uses that to fuel his own strength by multiple times. With that, his body floods with energy, and he uses his mana to create a magical blade, which is more or less transparent, which makes it difficult for his opponent to defend against. Nazana is a bit surprised at this, as she has never seen anything like this ever before, and Hardy knows that he must have caught her off guard, since this is his most powerful move, which he usually never has to use. He suddenly notices that Nazana has put her sword back in her shield and gets ready for a fistfight, which confuses Hardy at first, but then he thinks that Nazana probably can't understand the type of sword he is using and is trying to go for hand-to-hand combat. He gets confident in his strategy, knowing that Nazana is not that experienced and will probably rush in for an attack, and that's when he will chop her cleanly in two. Even though he was correct about the first part, he couldn't even fathom the speed of Nazana when she appeared in front of him, and even before he could blink, she landed a devastating punch, blasting him straight into the wall. Nazana gets incredibly happy that this time the wall didn't break, and the only reason she put away her sword was so that she could control her strength. Ellie still scolds him for leaving such a big crater in the wall, which now she has to fix, and tells her to quickly get Hardy and return back to the top of the tower. Light looks at Ellie and asks whether she's okay, since keeping up a tower this big must consume a lot of energy. Ellie replies that she gets weak in the knees sometimes, but she can hold it for much longer if she wants to. Light thanks her, claiming that it won't be necessary since their guests seem to be at the gate itself. Right on cue, Light opens the door and finds Sasha and Michael standing behind it. Light greets Sasha, and Sasha immediately recognizes him as the boy she saw in the market who had a burnt face. Michael asks whether Sasha knows him, and Sasha replies that she has only met him once in the market. Sasha gets annoyed and tells Light to control his tongue,
as he is just a human and should immediately bring them refreshments. Light smiles, replying that he liked her much better when she was nice to him. Sasha makes a confused face, claiming that she will never be nice to a piece of garbage, when Light slowly takes out her mask, and soon Sasha's voice gets stuck in her throat. Light claims that it has been 3 years since they last met on good terms, but Sasha is too shaken to speak, claiming that this is impossible, and asks what happened to all the scars she saw. Light smiles, claiming that those scars were just an illusion, and he has stopped his own aging so he could remember the people who wronged him better. She can't believe her own ears when Michael asks Sasha whether this boy is the same one who she was tasked with killing, the one who was supposed to be a probable master candidate. Sasha is still dumbstruck, but he finally reveals that when they attacked him, he ended up accidentally triggering a teleportation trap and was sent to the lowest level of the abyss, where he somehow survived and has been planning for the past 3 years to exact his revenge on everyone who wronged him. Sasha doesn't know what to say, but Michael suddenly starts laughing, claiming that this was the best wedding gift he could hoped for, and luck must really be on their side today. Sasha is confused, asking what is he talking about, but Michael explains that when they kill the mastermind that threatened the kingdom with a dragon and retrieve the technology that built this magnificent tower, they will gain untold influence over the kingdom and loads of riches and titles.
He asks, what if they learn about the fact that she lied about killing Light personally and making sure that he was dead? Michael replies that they will follow the YouTuber strategy that after doing something wrong, just refuse to address it and everything will be okay. This fills her with confidence, and she claims that Michael is a genius. She turns towards Light and starts cussing him out, claiming that a filthy human like him would be crushed beneath their feet like an insect from a filthy bog. Light doesn't reply to her and simply gets up and picks his staff before telling Ellie and the furry to not intervene no matter what. He walks up to the couple and tells Sasha that he will celebrate their marriage by his own revenge. But Sasha simply laughs, claiming that she is even stronger than she was before and has surpassed level 500. Moreover, she takes out a golden musical instrument, which Light recognizes as a legendary class device. Sasha starts playing the flute, and immediately a bunch of magic circles appear beneath them, and 2 huge deities emerge from it. The angelic beings are Phantasma-class summons, whatever the hell that means, and the Angel Man immediately attacks Light. Light dodges the attack without any issue before turning back for a counterattack. The Angel Man realizes that he is in trouble and immediately engages his shield, but it's not strong enough to stop Light, and he breaks through the shield, even taking an arm down. He comes back to the floor thinking about how he wanted to kill the summon with just 1 attack, but it seems like he will have to put on a show. Sasha is horrified at what Light was just able to do, since he is supposed to be a mere level 15 human. Light smiles at that and claims that he forgot to mention, but he himself has gotten a little stronger than he was earlier and reveals his stats. Sasha is shocked to see that Light is level 999,000 and starts freaking out. But Mikey remains calm, claiming that she shouldn't fall for his obvious lies because level 9,999 is nothing more than a fantasy, and his previous strike was merely enabled by some special magical item. Sasha is the most gullible and delusional there is, and immediately believes in Michael, telling her angels to take out Light as soon as possible. Light decides to prove his levels and starts releasing one spell after the other, first using Dust Devil to blind them, then using Shadow Bind to stop them in place, followed by Ice Shard to stop the magical healing, and Fire Arrows to deal an incredible amount of damage. To his surprise, though, Sasha manages to resummon them immediately without an issue and claims that she can do that as many times as she wants without really using that much magic. Light realizes that these angels are more troublesome than he initially thought, so he decides to go straight to the source. Within an instant, he appears in front of Sasha and tries to land a brutal blow, but he gets blocked by Michael, who tells him to keep his filthy hands off the girl. Light claims that he is surprised that Michael's shield could block an attack by him, but Michael simply smiles, claiming it can do more than just block. Just then, an immense amount of energy releases from the shield, pushing Light back. Light wonders whether that was a magic attack or just a shield bash. Michael laughs at his confusion, claiming that his shield is a holy item, which blocks the attacks of all the sinners and reflects it back at them. But that's not it, as he can also increase the stats of his allies by a lot. Suddenly, the angels start looking like they're on hella steroids. Sasha laughs, claiming that she can keep summoning the angels, and Michael can defend her and boost the angels, which means that Light has no more options but to surrender immediately. Light starts laughing like a maniac, claiming that now is the time when he will show them what true despair looks like. With that, he starts chanting a spell, which scares even Ellie and the furry, who tell him not to use that ability. But Light doesn't care. He releases all the seals over his own magic and summons the demon-class weapon Gungmir, whose aura is so strong that Michael and Sasha damn near piss their pants. Michael immediately realizes that this is bad news and tells Sasha to attack him. Sasha sends his angels on him, but the moment the angel touches him, its sword shatters, and no healing magic is able to bring it back. Light keeps walking forward, so the tanky angel takes out his shield, but Light simply uses a light thrust with his spear to completely evaporate all the angels without breaking a sweat. He continues walking, but realizes that the power of this weapon is hurting his hand as well. But he decides that he is willing to sacrifice an arm or two, if that means showing these elves what true despair looks like. Sasha is beyond terrified and immediately summons an archangel, which is bigger and stronger than all the others combined. The archangel immediately uses one of his strongest spells, while Sasha laughs, claiming that there is no way Light can survive that. But Light doesn't even defend against it, as the magic completely nullifies once it reaches him. Sasha is horrified and shouts at the angel to repeat the spell, but no matter how many times the archangel repeated the spell, it was of no use, as Light kept walking forward without even trying to defend himself. He laughs at Sasha's despair, telling her to try everything she wants, but no matter what happens, she is going to die at his hands tonight, and not even God can save her. But that was episode 11.